Okay, so nope, put it back.
We're live.
All right.
Thank you.
Is the open ready to go, yo?
I think, yep, I have the open ready. Hopefully we're sounding okay on the internet. Let us know, Freak Nation, if we're sounding okay. What's that? Oh, shit. Yeah, and let's not do that.
What's that?
Your coffee?
Yeah, I don't want to spill my coffee. All over the expensive
10
stuff.
seconds, yo.
All
10
over those
seconds.
cords. We probably have 30 cords down there.
Yeah, on a good day. Look.
On a
Listen.
good day, yeah.
All right, here we go. Hit it.
Live from the Lucas Oil Studios, it's Horsepower Hump Day because every NASCAR fan needs a push of the old bumper to get them over that hump.
Stop. Oh, my God.
Here's Kenny, Crash, Richie, and Cole. Let's get humping, boys.
This thing possible. And coming up in the show, Elton Sawyer, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain. There needs to be some beef. And I'm not talking about the big old thick, fatty kind that clogs up the arteries. There needs to be more beef in NASCAR. We're going to get to that. Steve Phelps, the new commissioner, but his job basically doesn't change. Might disagree a little bit with that, but we'll get to that story. And, of course, the Darlington preview, Freak Nation. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and don't forget, every Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, we are live on Racer Network, formerly MAV TV. All right. Now we have all the happy stuff out of the way. If you go to that two-shot, you're going to see a big, fat orange foot from me. I had meniscus surgery yesterday. And if I had seriously, I could come over here. The hell's that noise? Is that Henley watching TV?
That's your child watching some binging something over there.
Yeah.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. She's never once watched SpongeBob.
That is egregious. Henley, start watching SpongeBob SquarePants.
Right now.
Yeah.
Remember, she likes Bluey. Now she's watching that.
SpongeBob is way better than Bluey. I'll tell you what, man.
Oh,
I tell you what. All right.
Screw motorsports right now. We're
talking
just entered.
SpongeBob is a must for anybody who is a youngster out there. I learned more from SpongeBob than I ever did any other TV show when I was a kid. That includes Barney, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Listen, these two dudes had sex to SpongeBob SquarePants. if not with SpongeBob SquarePants.
Okay, that is.
We look at them. That's how fired up they are, man.
That is TMI.
I mean, we did rub shoulders with Clancy Brown, Mr. Krabs. So
Yeah.
that's something.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
That's something.
That's how we roll. Man. Freak Nation, some changes have come since the Sunday race at Martinsville. Crasher's back in town. Probably caught up on about 50% of her sleep with some gnarly travel. Good to have you back here in the Freak Nation.
Good to be back. Yeah, so it comes from me and extreme lack of sleep to you going through surgery, and as a result of the meds, and on another extreme lack of sleep. We're doing awesome these days. Woo!
Yeah, I've got an opioid in me. I've got an anti-inflammatory. I have an Adderall. I have an aspirin. I have a stool softener. What else do I have?
It's okay, that was too much information.
And listen, every one of you guys have backed out a pine cone wishing you had a freaking stool softener, right? Cole?
I have no disputes on that one.
Right?
I never have, but I no disputes.
You sat on the crapper before and wished that you would have had something up there to stir it up, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you drink coffee.
Oh,
Coffee.
yeah.
Yeah. Get Taco Bell or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good topic. Good topic.
So this might be a fun show if I do any more talking, given the products that I'm on at this point.
You also sound a little, but I know you're not sick. You just sound different.
Yeah, I am different right now. Got 2 holes and a bag of freaking residue underneath my kneecap right now. But Sammy Smith's penalty, we talked about this Sunday night, and we were a little curious on how severe NASCAR would get. And frankly, they got pretty severe with Sammy, taking away 50 points from the race. But that's different than taking him out of the race, right, Cole? If you took him out of the race and he didn't register squat, that would be a much more deeper penalty than just the 50 points he was penalized, correct? You understand what I'm saying here?
I do, but more or less, it's basically like him not getting points for a race because I mean, at that point, it's the final lap of the race. You really can't black flag him and take him out. So I think NASCAR is justified in what they did. I think it was the right call. Obviously, if it happened earlier in the race and he was withheld from competing further, it's a different story. But it's literally the final lap of the race. You can't really do much outside of docking him as much as a full race would be, basically 50 points. So,
yeah, which I thought we came to that conclusion in our group text in that it's essentially taking him out of the race.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought it was one of the
But
things.
it's still not, though, because if you look for with the playoffs, he's still registered in that race, right?
Yeah.
He's still registered. And I'm not saying that this is a make or break for me, but and if it's, how do you say, half dozen, whatever the hell it is?
6 1, half dozen
Yeah.
another.
But he's still registered as running in that race as opposed to being black flag, taken out of the race and scoring 0 points. Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining the difference of being removed from the race versus having 50 points taken away. All right.
And I guess it could also like set the precedent. Like, do you want these actions being taken place on track? So it's like, do you just sit it out for a full race to set an example?
Yeah.
You know, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And hey, let's go to our YouTube comments here on Facebook. We got Dennis chiming in. He says just that. He says Smith should have been suspended. He was awful the whole race. He must have been drunk or stoned or both.
He does drive for Dale.
Yeah, and here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. We can't play the Dirty Mo Media stuff on the show because Dale Earnhardt Jr. will come knocking on our door and say, "Hey, you can't do that." But Dale Jr. spent a good 25 minutes on this, and it's a really good listen. And he was like, he basically reamed him the riot act, and is what I took from it in so many ways. That's what Dale Earnhardt Jr. said. He said, "I told him, hey, everybody thinks you're a spoiled punk. Don't you agree that people probably have that perception of you? You gave them an opportunity to be right. You can't do that." And that was probably putting it nicely. I'm sure when they actually had this phone call on Sunday, it was a little bit more gnarly than what Dale Jr. said on the show. So.
Yeah, I heard the comment about how frustrated Dale was after leaving that stadium. And you don't hear him talk like that often, much at all. And you knew exactly where it was headed to and who it was for. It was Sammy Smith. And I said this on Sunday night. I watched 15 minutes of the race, and fortunately, it was the tail end of the race. And I understand hooking left and right bumpers, but this was. Don't we have a verb? This was Austin Dillon-esque. Was that a verb?
This was pulling a Dillon.
Yeah.
Chastaining chastain's like the verb. I think that's.
Is that what it is? Chastaining?
Chastained.
Yeah. It was Smithy Chastain, Taylor, Tommy, Stevie Tanner, Joe Tanner.
One of the Grays.
One of the Grays.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see NASCAR hand something down. This is going to lead us into the conversation. I saw Kevin Harvick's a big fan of this. Dale Jr. about being able to flag these dudes and girls during the race because it can continue to affect the results in the race. You get so much money involved with this, whether it's MGM or other FanDuel, regardless. This is a fact. Gambling has changed sports and how sports updates their rules.
How it's regulated.
And that affected the book. What Sammy Smith did to Gray.
True.
Absolutely affected the book. NASCAR, Cole, Richie, Crasher, they're not on the NFL level right now. But imagine a regular season game between the Jets and the Patriots, and there was an egregious foul, and everybody saw it. But the refs and the refs even came together and they said, "Yep, no foul." Or the other way around, it was a foul, but it wasn't a foul.
That all too much.
Yeah, the money that drops off the table through FanDuel and BetMGM, the other sites, is crazy. So
that's such a good point. It's because basically what you're describing is, what if Sammy Smith would have won that race on Saturday? And he would have been in victory, and basically just like Austin Dillon, right? Austin Dillon won that race, and they had to go back and make up a brand new rule to take away playoff eligibility from him. So that is kind of crazy, and I think you're getting at a great point there. And Cole, you and I were listening to Holler Talk my favorite podcast
That's right.
on the way in, and everybody on the show was explaining kind of how they went about making sure that the penalty, because it was so late in the race, they didn't want to give it out right then and there. And they were like, okay, well, we need to make sure we get this right. And that's why they decided to take so long, because it was so late in the race. And because they want to take a look at the data, they want to take a look at team radio, have that conversation with the teams. That's why they decided to make this choice. But I think Kenny's 100% right, which is that in the future, especially for gambling, you can't mess around, man. Like that's a lot of money on the line. So like if Sammy Smith would have won this race, would they have like changed the penalty? Would they have still paid out his win bet, even though after the fact, then they add this penalty on top of it? So that is, I wonder how much that comes into play for the NASCAR officials.
I can't actually answer that question. So if a driver is disqualified or the win's taken away, they still do award that race winning bet. So they will award the original winner, even if they are disqualified, and the actual winner of that race. So
Ooh, a double award.
I did not know that. That's cool. That's interesting. Thank you, Cole.
Isn't that cool?
You don't get that in stick and ball sports.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Man, there was another freaking tributary I was going to head down. It was going to be a legitimate freaking conversation. But me being on every freaking drug this side of the freaking Safeway just stopped me from going down there. You were talking about that. I was making a good point on affecting the money. Oh, here it is. When one of these bad beats makes Steve Van Pelt's show, that's going to be the game changer.
Oh, yeah.
If you've seen that on ESPN, he's got some awesome segments with bad beats where there might be a 6.5 point underdog and the way the team comes back. And they don't need to get in the diatribe. But if we see a bad beat similar to what we saw Saturday night end up on ESPN, that'll put the spotlight on a series that really needs to change their shit freaking immediately.
Bottom line, if this was the Cup Series, if this happened in the Cup Series, it would be a different conversation.
It was. Because the same thing happened to Austin Dillon.
Well,
it's basically the same exact thing.
And how do you you're still rewarding Austin Dillon. He didn't make it in the playoffs, but he still was credited with the win and got money. But was fun.
Okay, was betting a big reason for that determination with Austin Dillon last year?
I don't think it was a big determining reason for that. I just think the
Closer to the mic.
I don't think it was a big determining reason for that. I think the sports books just award the original winner and the official winner of the race. Based off whatever metrics or whatever ruling they have.
But NASCAR allowed him to keep the win. They just stripped him of the playoffs. Do you think NASCAR was too afraid of what the books might have done before realizing that, we could have two winners?
That's possible. Yeah. I mean, because it makes you think if you're awarding two different winners, that's literally two payouts, and they're pretty significant when you're betting NASCAR for race winner odds. So that could play a factor for sure.
We have I do want to go to another comment here in our YouTube stream. Blake chiming in. He says, it's so effed up right now. NASCAR can't get out of their own way. Which is 100% true. And that's kind of goes back to something we were saying on Sunday in reaction to Denny Hamlin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And all of these guys saying that they need to start making these calls in race. And that was my point on Sunday night. I'm still going to make the same point, which is like, I don't trust NASCAR to be the ones making those decisions because they get it wrong every single time. And so that's like the dichotomy here with the big players in NASCAR right now is like, how do they figure this out? Cause like they're going to get shit either way. Like, I feel like they can't from either way, they're gonna get this wrong. That's what NASCAR is right now. It's like every turn, like, nope, they screwed up. Austin Cindric penalty, screwed up on that one. Sammy Smith, they didn't call it in race, right? There was another incident in the Cup Series on Sunday with Eric Jones. Basically did the same thing. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. brought this up. Maybe it was Denny Hamlin who brought this up, but he basically did the same thing that Sammy Smith did and just missed the corner and just bumped a guy out of line. No penalty there. So again, NASCAR can't get out of their own way. I 100% agree with Blake on that.
So who was it in our thread that said NASCAR needs race stewards?
No, that was me.
Richard.
Yeah, that was 100%.
So that's what we need. We don't need commissioner. We need race stewards.
There is a precedence. We've got Formula One and Crasher, with IndyCar series. And you talk about a series that got it wrong a lot, but a lot of times they got it right, where it was in race decisions that they would make with these drivers. Take so-and-so, bam. that block, let's put him at the back of the pack. They made in-race decisions. So it can be done. And that's, as I said Sunday night.
It's also controversial.
Yeah,
but you're at least making a decision in the moment, and the driver is being affected because of that decision in the moment, but duly so.
I would be so pissed if I was a driver that sunk in crazy money and I saw this happen to me and I had to wait until the end of the race to hear the decision on the strike. From other drivers, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these drivers come out and bitch so hard on this. It's like the way it affects the entire race of those behind this player or this driver, that it's just, can't we just get this shit solved damn near immediately? The clock starts if you don't solve it in 25 seconds. Right?
No, you're 100% right, because it changes the entire race. Like, you have wrecked. Connor Zilic had a great race on Saturday until he got wrecked, right? And his car was a piece of junk by the end of the race, right? So you start calling those penalties early on. Well, maybe Connor Zilic goes out and wins that race because of how good he was in the first half of that race, right? I think that's the point we're getting at. And I'm going to reiterate what I said on Sunday as well, which is something that Kyle Busch talked about a couple weeks ago. And that is in relation to, how NASCAR decides who even gets to race at all, relating back to the Catherine Legg situation, Mike Wallace situation, et cetera, which is like, he doesn't want the suits making these decisions. And I agree. So this is the change I would make. And let me see if you agree with me. I don't want the NASCAR officials making these calls. Like, I don't want the white, shirts as they wear now or whatever, making those calls. I want former drivers making these calls, which is what it is in Formula One. They bring in former drivers to make these
drivers committee
and have a drivers committee, right? And that's who's making these decisions. It's not the suit and ties making these calls during the race. And that's how you go about fixing things. Because like, I looked this up, Seth Eggert, he's great on Twitter at Seth Eggert 91. He looked up the previous 15 times that someone was called for an in-race penalty. Now, there's been 15 of these since 2009. That's it.
Come on.
That's it. There's only been 15 in-race penalty calls, according to his research, since 2009. The most recent was Anthony Alfredo back in the championship race in Phoenix. So there's 3 instances last year, 1 in Xfinity, 2 in the truck. So maybe it's becoming more of a thing now, but like I don't know if they're afraid to do it, but that's kind of what it seems like to me, is they're just afraid to make these calls and get them wrong because they don't want to get the shit from NASCAR fans. Like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean that guy didn't make that guy was 100% right in what he did?
They're going to get crap from the fan base regardless. You might as well do it in the moment, because at least you're showing an effort to try to get it right so as to not interfere with the rest of the lineup.
I mean, Gary Bettman at one time was 6'3", and now he's 5'2". You're commissioner for the NHL, and that's from so many fans chirping away at him, and he decided to shrink to the troll that he actually is. Gary Bettman is incredibly a horrible commissioner. Now, our good friend Steve Phelps, who I admire quite a bit, taking on the position of commissioner. I'm hoping that this new title, he'll get a little bit more free reins from Lisa Kennedy and Jim France. And I'm bringing this up again. I truly believe if Jim France and Steve Kennedy could get out of their own way, and you know what, there's like a Jerry Jones situation.
Steve Kennedy?
with Lisa Kennedy and Lisa Kennedy and Jim France.
Okay.
They are so involved behind the scenes that they continue to screw it up for NASCAR. They won't let a general manager, a commissioner like Steve Phelps, who knows his shit, who has a contemporary view on how to run a company. I believe, and I don't have any inside baseball here, but I just, knowing Steve as I do, and O'Donnell, and some off-mic conversations, I just believe if those two dudes were allowed to run it with some assistance from Kennedy and France, but to keep their greedy freaking paws out of it and let these two dudes run it, that we'd be talking about how great this in-race penalty decisions have been going for the last 3 or 4 years.
So you're basically saying that the France family is still micromanaging them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, you said all that had to be said right there. I mean, I agree 100%. Like Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, they're two of the most well-spoken and just, I think, well put together individuals in the sport of NASCAR. If they're not being like micromanaged and puppets essentially for France and Kennedy, like the sport would be in a much better position. And hopefully this new position allegedly will be just that, giving both of them more input into how they handle these situations in race and outside the car as well. You know?
Yeah, he said the part of the reason for this is to be more in line with some of the other professional sports out there. And he was like, "Oh yeah, NASCAR's continuing to grow, and this is like the next step in our growth is to just have a new title," which is basically all this is. He even admitted that in his interview on Holler Talk. He was like, "Yeah, we're not really. Me and O'Donnell aren't really changing roles all that much. It's just to be more in line with, you know, the rest of the sports world." And that's kind of a complete lie if you think about it.
If they're going to be in line with stick and ball sports, the big ones, NFL, NBA, NHL, who owns the NFL?
Goodell.
The owners.
The owners.
That's correct. Nailed it. Yep.
Who owns NASCAR?
We're all
the France family. Yeah. So that's still too much of, no, it's not the same. There's no similarities whatsoever. Just because you slap a commissioner label on Steve Phelps, it is nothing like Roger Goodell. It is nothing like Adam Silver with the NBA, because you are still run by one family and one family only, not a bunch of billionaire owners.
Well, you could say that about the NFL commissioner, where you have freaking Scooby-Doo Johnson with the Jets and Jerry Jones, that they have so much sway with the commish that even though their teams are sucking hind boo, they still have a say in some. Let's say the Haslams in Cleveland or whoever freaking owns Jacksonville, they still have a heavier say in decisions.
But there's 32 of them, not one family.
But it's not one of 32. It's like Jerry Jones may have the say for 7 or 8 teams. How do you think Don Snyder got his ass kicked out of the Washington professional football team?
Dan Snyder.
What did I say? Don Snyder.
Close enough.
Dan Snyder. How do you think he got his ass kicked out? Jerry Jones. Jesus. Where were we going on this? Where were we going?
I just love how chill you look.
Right?
You're just sitting back. I'm smelling your foot right here underneath my. This is good.
It's just a distraction, in my opinion. Like from
it seemingly is.
That's what it is. It's because they got lawsuits galore going around, right? Between 2311 and Front Row and the countersuit, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what that is. It's like, hey, look at us. We're growing. We're doing great. We have a commissioner now. So we're now more like the professional sports. Because that was one of the criticisms, I believe, in the lawsuit. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, which is like 2311 and Front Row are basically saying, like, listen, you're not like the rest of professional sports because of this monopoly that you have with the one family, with the France family. And this is NASCAR being like, what do you mean? Yeah, look, we're just like, we have a commissioner now. We're just like the rest of the sports.
Okay, so, wow. Do you think that there is even an inkling of thought that they gave him the title of commissioner in order to satisfy what that legality may become?
I don't. That it could be a possible point. I was just reading through. I was reading through
crazy.
I was reading through the article here, and it was actually Steve O'Donnell's recommendation, apparently, to do this. It was his idea.
Listen, Lisa Kennedy and Jim France do not want to be subpoenaed.
Guess what's
they
coming?
do not want to be subpoenaed.
They don't want their books.
They don't want any of that. So they are going to be trying to be the biggest freaking David Copperfields in the planet with these illusions and dropping this, but they are messing with the wrong freaking team. And it's not me hoping that NASCAR falls or NASCAR splits because I think that would be detrimental to what we're trying to do here.
No, I was going to say we would all suffer if that was the case. We don't want NASCAR to fail.
I think there needs to be some give with those two individuals and understand it is not the red truck, Mike Helton, Jim Hunter days anymore. It is not.
I think it's also a very old school way of thinking, the way they've been running the sport.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why you need somebody like Steve Phelps, who's more in tune with what's going on now and what's been going on the last 10 years or so to step in and really take action and really turn things around.
So what do we say to the fan base? The fan base, it seemingly since COVID, maybe a little bit pre-COVID, has been shouting out Phelps and O'Donnell, the Steves as they call them, for being way too woke. You've ruined NASCAR. You've been too woke. when essentially, like we've just talked about here, they're the puppets of the France family. So who's the woke that you're so upset about? Come on. Phelps is doing everything that he's being told to do, but he's actually doing it in a way that's kinder to the fan base than what could be done. And you guys should be liking Phelps.
It's still been helping the sport too.
Absolutely.
Every single race this season's seen gains in viewership and ratings. So it's like it's working.
Yep.
You're getting more people to watch the sport. You're getting a new demographic to get invested in the sport. So, just keep doing what you're doing. And if this role is something that's going to be advantageous to the sport, let them run with it.
Speaking of Richie, have we run past needing to hear Elton Sawyer, Logano?
We can do that. Certainly. It will give us, let's go to it. Yeah. Here's, circling back to what we were talking about earlier.
That was my point. Have we already passed as the bus already left the station?
Yeah, pretty much. So I think the Logano thing is interesting.
Okay.
We can touch on that a little bit.
Right.
And it's kind of adjacent to the Xfinity Series conversation. So we're going to circle back a little bit, but Joey Logano made a great point about why the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series is kind of in the situation it is right now with how these drivers are going about their racecraft. And I had not heard this perspective or this point of view prior. It is a big problem in European series because Formula 2, Formula 3, and a lot of the European series, you have to pay for your ride. And I did not realize that had become as big as it is in North American motorsports now. So here's Joey Logano on Sirius XM explaining why he believes this new pay structure in the lower levels of NASCAR is coming back to bite them in the ass.
I got paid to drive a car since I've been 15 years old. I've had a boss that pays to drive, like I got paid to drive their car. So I had someone to answer to. With the Xfinity Series these days and the Truck Series, all of them are paying to drive the car. So you will not get fired if you're bringing money to the table. It takes a lot for a race team to say, you can't drive our car anymore when you're bringing millions of dollars to drive the car. So you are like, so now you don't have the elder statesmen there that have been there for a long time, that are showing everyone how to do a certain thing and like command their respect. And you got people that aren't afraid of getting fired because they're bringing money to the table. And then they're learning this is how you race and this is what they do. And then they're going to move up to the cup level where it's different, right? The dynamic of everything's different when you get to the cup level because now almost all the drivers in the Cup Series are getting paid, right? So now you have a boss, right? Now there's a lot more on the line. Right now, you can't afford to get suspended. You can't afford to lose points. You can't afford to do all this stuff. But you don't know how to do that now because you weren't trained to do that.
What do you make of that, huh?
Oh, he is so on point. It's crazy. And I think I've heard things from Jeff Burton. I've heard things from Kyle Petty. It all boils down to respect and how these guys were taught how to race. I'm not saying anything is
closer to the mic, please.
Less than a video game mentality or, feel it by the seat of your pants kind of mentality of how you learned how to race. But right here, up in their heads, how you treat your fellow drivers with respect, how you treat them on track and off track. And does it come down to the money? Does it come down to the sponsorship? Who is the actual boss of these people? How did the parents raise them? How did their former teams raise them as they were coming through the ranks? Wow, Logano is on point. Something needs to change. They need to learn better, arguably learn better, because once you get to the cup level, you can't race like this, period. Can't happen.
I've got a tweet here from Brad Keselowski from yesterday. I've been really quiet on this over the last few days, but it's clear this is an important to fix. It's also clear it's bigger than one race weekend.
Yes.
My 2 cents, the solution needs to come from the car owners, not NASCAR. Until the car owners are willing to park their drivers for getting this out of control, very little will change. I get that they all are scared to park a funded driver out of fear they will lose the money to continue to operations. However, at some point, that's the risk you have to take to get this right. I believe if not all teams do it together, it would, or I believe if all teams do it together, it would work. I'm sorry. So,
okay, well then, but if it's a funded driver and a team owner is like, oh my gosh, I need to pay my bills. I have to take this money. How come a team owner couldn't talk with NASCAR to say, I need you to help me out here? I can't sit them. Can you? I mean, can there be some sort of mutual agreement here in order to make the product better?
I mean, I feel like it has to come from the team owners, because NASCAR has set the precedent and said numerous times that they're not going to step in and like do things for teams. I think if it's coming from the team owners themselves and setting an example for these drivers and saying, hey, I know you have money, I know what you bring to the table, but you got to treat the sport and treat your competitors with respect behind the wheel. And they sit these drivers out, set an example. That's where the real change is going to come from within. I do believe, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah,
Dale
Earnhardt Jr. was actually specifically asked about this because he saw a lot of tweets from people asking Dale, "Hey, why don't you sit Sammy for a race?" And Dale flat out said, "No, stop saying that. Get out of my mentions with that." He flat out denied it. Didn't really specifically get into the reasons like why that was the case. It sounded more like a decision where all Sammy needed was a very, very stern talking to from Dale to get the message through. But yeah, so I didn't even know this was really a thing in NASCAR for the most part anymore. Like, it's not something I ever really thought of because
pay to play.
Yeah. I know that's a big thing in open wheel, obviously, but I never really thought about it as NASCAR because it's kind of hard to tell with NASCAR for the most part. It's not a very open process.
All right, Dale Earnhardt Jr., then the next time this happens with Sammy Smith, assuming that there will be a next time, then what? Still not going to sit him? Because obviously it's falling on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm.
I really need to kiss that mic, Crasher. Really need to kiss it.
What's going on, man?
Hey, just keep it close. I've known that these NASCAR drivers have been paying to play for a long time. Blaine Perkins running for Jordan Anderson Racing. I know why Vanderslap, what's his name? The guy that ran for him.
Van Alst?
No. Oh, goodness gracious. Parker Retzlaff.
Yeah, Retzlaff. I know why he left. Had everything to do with finances. I know what kind of money Jeb Burton's bringing to run with those guys. Who was it? Oh, it was Corey LaJoie. Admitted he's bringing all this. He's bringing his kids finances for college to run Daytona, and then all of a sudden somebody came in and helped fund part of the team. It's never going back where it was the straight skill of a driver that earns the ride, because the scoots just aren't out there like they used to be. It's a much bigger and better process when it comes to sponsoring sports, but some people get lost in it. It's like imagine the Kyle Larsons of the world that are out there that just don't have that funding. You know?
Yeah, that's the shame, because you're not getting the talent coming through at the rate that we probably should.
Typically, I don't know when this started, but the ownership had all of the sponsorship, and it switched. It might have switched late 2000s, like 2010, to where the driver endeared themselves so much to that sponsor to where the sponsor went with the driver. Because this has happened on our watch of doing this for 25 years, where it was all sponsor early on, and now it's, I don't know what the percentage is, but if Christopher Bell left Joe Gibbs for somewhere, I wouldn't be too surprised if DeWalt went with Christopher Bell. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head of when that's happened outside of like maybe Martin Truex Jr. Like I know Bass Pro was with him through a while. I think Kevin Harvick, kind of the same thing where he had that Busch Light sponsorship and that seemed to carry through it with his move to Stewart Haas as well. So there's a couple of examples of it for sure.
Do we want to get into the Joey Ross?
This is
beef?
fun. This
Absolutely.
is great.
Right?
This is we were just crapping on NASCAR for 25 minutes. Now we get to get excited about it because this is the fun part. This is what NASCAR needs. So yes. Cole, do you want to set this up or do you want me to take it here?
Yeah, I can set it up actually. Yeah. So Sunday at Martinsville, Joey Logano felt that he got done wrong by Ross Chastain, not once but twice on a pair of restarts. The biggest one coming in the final stage of the race with about 85 laps to go. Chase Briscoe and he were racing for position inside the top 10. Ross Chastain made what he deemed an aggressive move, jumped down the track, cut them off, and that kind of sent Briscoe over the curbing and collected Logano in the process. So this is Logano talking about how he felt he got done wrong by Ross Chastain twice at Martinsville.
The long haul was pretty good, so it's just kind of like pick them off one at a time kind of thing. and then Ross just sticking in a tight spot. He did it to me to restart before, and I can't even blame Briscoe for shipping him. And I think he got himself in a bind trying to ship him. He just races like a jackass every week, and I keep paying the price, and I'm sick of paying the price.
Races like a jackass. How about that, guys? That's the kind of stuff we want to hear. This is true.
Joey.
This is true beef from Joey Logano and Roush Chastain.
So great when Joey Logano was fired up.
Yes.
I don't know. I was following Logano pretty closely the entire race. I wrote a story on him for Race Face, but I didn't really feel like the moves Chastain made were that egregious and aggressive. The first one where Logano kind of jammed into his rear bumper because he cut down was, I think, worse than the initial one that sent him spinning with the
Chase
Chase
the
Briscoe.
one on the restart.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Chastain has become a scapegoat for many drivers in the sport since he made that infamous run in 2022 with Denny Hamlin and all those guys. So I don't know. I don't think it was that bad of what Chastain did in that race, especially when it's so hard to pass and hold your position and whatnot at Martinsville. But yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was exactly where my mind was going as I'm watching this beef boil over into the media. Does Ross Chastain take too much from other drivers, and why? What is the point behind drivers continually pointing the finger at Chastain?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could obviously make the case that he could have went about it a different way, but you still got to take into account you're competing at the highest level of stock car racing in NASCAR, and every position matters, especially at a short track where it's hard to pass. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with
especially
that.
at a short track.
I really don't think there was anything wrong with it.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we all love a fired up Joey Logano, but was this warranted enough to have the jackass word come out? Come on.
He also referenced some other incidents earlier in the season. I think at Coda was one thing. So it could be carryover and just kind of boiling to a head at that point. But
didn't Chastain say something like we shouldn't? Gosh, I don't know exactly what his words were. Not being able to compound these things together. Meanwhile, that's what drivers have done for decades.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Crash, because thanks to our friend Kelly Crandall with racer.com, here is Ross Chastain responding to Joey Logano's jackass comments.
I am confused by what he's said. I haven't heard since he got out of the car and had time to cool down and look at it. I don't believe that the 14 was trying to get to me. I don't think that. When I got down in front of the 22 the first time, there was a gap. Other guys had done that to me. That's a very common move to get down in line. He took that opportunity to, I think, hit me harder than he needed to. He's Matt from Coda. He says I pushed a car into him late in the race. And when I first heard about it, I honestly didn't understand what they were saying he said. I was standing behind the hauler, having a bush light, man, that was a nice day. I wish I had 5th versus 6th, but not greedy. And I just couldn't believe that what they were saying and what they were telling me he said. So I would hope that he looked at it and had a little clearer mind. I hope that he's a 3-time champ. He can say what he wants, but those words have a lot of weight. And to just get out and spew that, call me those names is not appreciated, not warranted, I don't think. And honestly, pretty disappointing that he would do that.
Darlington's going to be beautiful for this.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Anyways, I love this, man. We were talking about before the show, and something that we've talked about, I feel like, for years on this show, which is that NASCAR and sports in general are better when there are rivalries, when there is genuine beef going on, when there are drivers to hate and there are drivers to love. And in this case, it is 2 drivers that most fans generally do not like. And the fact that they are beefing is great for the sport. And I wish we had more of it. Even if it's warranted or not, I don't care. I really don't. I'm not concerned about that. I just want to be able to have that discussion on this show every week that somebody's beefing with somebody. And that is what is going to give NASCAR the attention. It's why the NBA doesn't really work anymore, and it's not as popular as it used to be because everybody's buddy. You know, they're all friends anymore, right? They're all hanging out in their freaking banana boats, right? Everybody's too happy, joy, and there's no rivalries anymore. The Celtics and the Lakers, nobody cares about the Celtics and the Lakers anymore. Like, they just don't punch tickets like they used to back in the 80s, right? And so give me more NASCAR rivalries. Give me more beef. I love this.
All right, I think I'm on to something here. When was the Chastain Gragson right hook? Was that 2 years ago? Was that 2023?
Yes.
Okay. 2024 was the Ricky Stenhouse hook into Kyle Busch's face, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen again this year. And here's my prediction. And maybe you want to drop this on the money stop.
Oh.
After the conversation that Ty, he gets us, Gibbs, dropped the MF and the mother F and the mother FFF towards
Reddick?
Tyler Reddick and talking about beating his little ass. Would that be the ticket? I would pay to watch that fight. Ty, he gets us, Gibbs going in there against Tyler Reddick, all confident, thinking that little burr cut of his is going to have some magic power to beat Tyler Reddick's ass.
Like the battle of the Oompa Loompas?
Yeah. That's where it's coming. Let's hope that Tyler tips Ty one too many, and that Ty Gibbs jumps out of the car, looks up and say, hope you get me here, and goes after freaking Tyler, right?
The problem is Ty Gibbs is going to be running 25th, and Tyler Reddick's going to be running for the win.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be anywhere near each
So
other.
then it has to happen when Reddick laps in.
Yes.
So there, if you want to just drop it in the money stop has their own selections. Like where's the next fight going to be? My prediction is Ty Gibbs has enough of Tyler Reddick, and then Tyler Reddick shows Ty Gibbs that, yes, I'm a father and I'm about to beat your ass.
I like it. I like that a lot,
Yeah.
actually. I love how he called him little. Meanwhile, he's either the same exact size or shorter than Tyler Reddick.
I think Gibbs is shorter than Reddick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. I do.
I don't know. When he has
there's the money stop bet right there.
But
Right.
do you guys really think that they would fight being that they're Toyota teammates? I feel like that was kind of heat of the moment, kind of like BS. I don't know.
Well, he did.
Not
He
to put a
did.
damper on that, but
Ty Gibbs did the talking, but he sure as shit didn't do the walking because he walked up there and did nothing.
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Did nothing. Didn't even put a finger on him.
I don't think he would. I think he's kind of a punk. I think he's all talk.
Well, I agree. Okay,
yeah.
I have the answer.
Oh, yeah.
According to the internet, Tyler Reddick is 5'5",
This is Ty Gibbs is
Represent.
5'7".
and Ty Gibbs is
Gibbs is not 5'7".
5'7".
No.
Is that like
No.
his Tinder height or something? Did he that's definitely exaggerated because
Yeah,
we've all rubbed elbows with him in the media center.
Yep.
He is not 5'7".
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
He's my height at best, 5'5".
Yeah.
That's
Tyler
like
They're both 5'5".
Kyler Murray pushing 5'7" with the Cardinals.
Stop it.
So Richie, after we finish the show, let's put this clip out there for social and somehow get it going. People's take on who fights who first and who would win.
Oh, Reddick, come on.
I like that. That's a great idea.
Anybody think Gibbs would beat Reddick?
I don't think Gibbs knows how to fight. Right?
I mean, his old man.
No
did.
He's got his silver spoon his
His-
entire life. I
his-
think he's
He has the power of God on his side, though.
Well, listen, let him decide then. I mean,
Gets him.
his
Yeah.
grandfather and his dad, rest his soul, are badasses.
Mhm.
But I don't know about little man Ty.
Little man. Oh,
It's-
man.
It is.
This is good.
So,
well, no, actually, no. Hang on. I think
Oh,
we're slightly off because he did get into it one time in the Xfinity Series a couple of years ago when he made the Final Four, and he made that move at Martinsville to move. I forget who it was. Brandon Jones. I think it was Brandon Jones.
Yes,
Brandon Jones out of the way. I think did they not? I think they got into it after the race a little bit because I thought we had talked about that, or maybe I'm wrong. I'm just making stuff up.
Oh.
I don't remember an altercation. I think I remember Brandon Jones being very, very angry, and rightfully so, though, at that situation.
yeah. It was such an awesome fight. None of us remember it.
Yeah.
You're right. Two little freaking Oompa Loompas in the backstretch getting after it. Who was it? It was
Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton. I knew
it was the funniest.
Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh my gosh! I think people had to get the cameras above the freaking wall to see them down there fighting each other.
Really appreciate the short jokes, guys.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Who would you like to fight in the Cup Garage?
Oof, that's a tough one. I would like to see a nice Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs fight.
Yeah.
They have some bad blood together from the Xfinity days.
True.
Noah's already thrown fists in the Cup Series in his young tenure so far. And yeah, it'd be a cool one. Make some headlines.
Noah would just wipe Ty Gibbs out.
Oh, it wouldn't even be close.
It would not be close. Yeah. So we're basically saying we want to see that because of the satisfaction of seeing it.
Okay, here's a better one for you. Who's got the most punchable face in the Cup Garage? That could change the dynamics a little bit, right?
Damn.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let me set this up for you, Richie. Go to a single shot. All right, let me set this up for you. Well, Freak Nation, who's got the most punchable face in the NASCAR Cup Garage? There are a number of faces out there we know that drivers would like to punch and you would like to punch. Who's the number one punchable face in the NASCAR Cup Series?
That's a great question.
Go back to 4-shot.
Great question.
I just set it up for Richie so he could.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Right.
I'm going to put that out. That was Cole. That was actually one of our most popular things we ever did back in our Daily Show days. We asked that.
Okay.
Same question.
Yeah.
And oh boy, the people were loving that. So hopefully the racing community gets behind that too.
We make predictions.
Oh yeah.
I think Denny. The people are going to say Denny.
I think it's Denny. I think it's Denny too. Denny would be my pick.
I don't know if I have a pick personally, but I think that's going to be the general consensus.
Was that whose face you'd want to punch?
I don't know. I had to think about that. I really don't want to punch any of these guys in the face, but I think people are going to hate on Denny, though.
I think people will hate on Denny, but I'm going to go Ty Gibbs because I think there's enough hatred going there as well, or just questioning him.
I'm bringing up the list of headshots here. This is like going through Crime Alley trying to look.
Ooh,
Cole Custer,
Austin Dillon. Yeah, we can't say that, right? We can't say that.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Before
Austin Dillon, I think there's a few people that would like to punch him.
We know Noah Gragson's history and what happened for him to allegedly getting back on track. Prior to him getting back on track, we had him on the show a few times, and he could care less that he was sitting in front of us talking.
He was an a-hole.
It was the most uncomfortable interview I've ever had with a driver. Especially when he's sitting across with those freaking jail suit with Wendy's, whatever the hell he was wearing. That was a hideous looking suit. And at that time, Noah Gragson had indeed the 1, 2, and 3 most punchable faces.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, wow. but I think the fact that he's turned it around a little more gregarious, knows his role. I don't think he's as much of a punchable face at this point for me.
No, I would agree with that. And Ty Gibbs takes the
Okay, I'm going through the list here, and it's 100% Austin Dillon. I'm sorry, Austin.
Wow.
Yeah,
but it's not just based on looks, though. It has to be based on looks plus actions detrimental, so to speak. Actions on the track that people are they're done. They're done with this particular driver.
You don't think Joey has a punchable face for the fans?
Yeah. Well, it's for the fans, probably.
Yeah, the fans.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I don't want to punch him, but I'm just thinking the fans.
We do have some selections. Blake says Bubba Wallace.
Okay.
And Denny is my second choice. So we weren't too far off with the Denny Hamlin speculation.
Right.
We also have another comment asking from Colin asking, "Hey guys, I got one for you. Who takes the first swing at Joey Logano this season?"
I feel like Joey's the one taking the swing, though.
He's not backing down.
I think he's kind of been more reserved since he's developed that reputation a while back. I feel like he's more doing his talking on the track as opposed to turning people and starting shit. So
3-time champion.
Yeah.
Well, and even Ross Chastain himself just said today, Wednesday, that hey, he's a 3-time champion. He can say what he wants.
Yeah. And when you have that title or those titles, you have to carry yourself in a certain way. He's not going to be out there throwing fists if he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
So
William Boring has also got that pretty boy look to him. I don't like that.
I feel for William. I wouldn't want to punch him. He hasn't done anything. No, it's like punching Ron Howard.
Oh,
Ron Howard,
because he's just so clean. And
nice. You don't want to punch freaking Opie.
Do you know who Opie is?
I don't know who Opie is.
Yeah.
Ron Howard. Google Ron Howard Opie.
We touched enough
Howard,
on the Phelps new commissioner, right? We did that. Right?
We did. The only other thing that I'd like to mention relating to the Steve Phelps thing is this this nugget that he dropped on Holler Talk about the future of Fontana, California Speedway.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I'm going to read here from Kelly Crandall's tweet where she says, we have one of the clearest updates on Fontana's future from NASCAR Commissioner Steve Phelps. That's going to take some getting used to. On Holler Talk, Phelps reiterated the market's importance to NASCAR, but said it's $300 million to build a new facility. He says in part here, with that said, it's $300 million to build that facility. Is that the best use of that money? That is the big question. The cost of capital right now is still really high. So for us, just press pause right now is essentially what we're doing. Granted, they made over $500 million. Over $500 million on the sale of the rest of the property.
So you're basically saying that $300 million is too much to rebuild on that property, that footprint, but you're still making $200 million afterwards. So yeah, it does not compute. Does not compute.
Makes no sense. If they value the market that much, then they should put a racetrack there.
Figure it out.
So my thing is, you have this gigantic, like, whatever it is, this complex where there's a bunch of these stores. You're going to be getting your money back and then some. But like, is maybe the appetite for racing and for NASCAR just not there? Do they not see enough encouraging things from the Clash, the Coliseum, to where they felt it would be like an advantageous thing for NASCAR? Because you look at it right now, we only have Sonoma, which is in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? You're going to go race through the streets of LA or San Diego? Like, I just don't see that being a realistic option. And I don't know how you're going to get back into the SoCal area without building a racetrack. And also off the airwaves, we're talking about Phoenix Raceway and the money that went into that renovation. 2018, $182 million to renovate a racetrack built in 1988.
Your capital was fine then.
It wouldn't be doable to build a new racetrack in that area?
Right.
Give me a break.
Not computing. Not making sense.
Yeah, I was reminded, remember, Crasher, Roger Penske and Kaiser Steel actually built that track in 94.
97 was the first year that
well,
so
this
they
was the
building
announcement.
In 94? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
a day after the announcement, CART announced it would hold an annual race at the Speedway. 3 months later, NASCAR's president, Bill France Jr., agreed to sanction Cup Series races at the Speedway upon completion, marking the first time NASCAR made a commitment to run a race at a track that had yet to be built. I think the sponsors are going to have a lot of say in whether they do this or not. And this may have some remnants of how some of these freaking billionaire owners try and kite as much money as they can from the fan base, taxes, to try and build this thing. But one number that stood out to me was $300 million. That is nothing. It's nothing to build a freaking stadium.
Landscape, right?
Yeah.
In the sports stadium landscape, yes. You're right. That is nothing.
And when they built that track in 94, yes, Riverside was established. San Bernardino was established. But there, to do the math, 31 years ago, there's a shit ton of people out there now. I mean, a shit ton.
And businesses.
Yeah. This is going to fall on NASCAR if they don't get it done. I think a short track,
well, hold on,
Coliseum-esque would be awesome.
They also let Irwindale go to destruction,
which was built by Danny Sullivan and Roger Penske.
Also Roger Penske, yes. But that became a NASCAR-owned track or a NASCAR-sanctioned track as well. So you've lost in the Southern California market Irwindale and Fontana.
Yep.
And now you're saying that $300 million, even though you made $500 million, $300 million isn't enough to justify putting something else in one of those footprints. Does not make sense. We can't say this enough.
Hey, I think we talked about this on our ride back from High Limit the other night. Richie, look it up. How many race tracks were in Southern California, say in the early 1900s? Look that up, would you?
There were a lot.
I also want to correct myself real quick. I said 1988 for when Phoenix was built. That was when the first Cup race was. It was actually 1964. So there was a nearly 55-year gap between the renovations.
Right.
So again, it just goes to tell you, like, how are you not saying it's too expensive to build or invest in a new racetrack in Southern California? I don't get it.
And look what Texas Motor Speedway is a perfect example. Racing, their cup race there, frankly, is secondary in moneymakers. They have events there every freaking weekend, whether it's the Hot Rod Power Tour or RV sale or a home sale or the schools that run through there, the driving schools, the proms that are rented out, that rent out their suites, that rent out the executive levels. They make so much cake outside of that one cup race that they've got. And if you get smart business folks like Kenton Nelson and the crew are there at Texas Motor Speedway, and I would say the same with Charlotte Motor Speedway as well. Rich, you have a number for me yet?
I'm trying to find it here. I'm trying to look. I don't have an exact number, but
I'm just thinking that NASCAR has to get this freaking thing done. Why not? What if ISC came in and bought it from them?
Are you talking about SMI?
Yeah, excuse me. SMI came in and bought it from them. Said, "Screw this. We have a little bit of history in making short tracks badass."
That would actually just light a fire under the France. Here we go back to the France family.
Yeah.
Lisa France Kennedy's, but she would say, no. This is not going to a Smith.
All right.
It's not going to a Smith property.
Give me a single shot on this. All right, here's my advice. Here's my advice, NASCAR. Why don't you let the Smith company, SMI, roll in there and purchase that land and that track for $300 million and give it to someone that knows how to sufficiently run a big, badass short track.
Ouch.
SMI, save us in Southern California. Back to you.
Okay.
Are you ready for my conspiracy theory?
What?
Yes.
They're involved in NASCAR is involved in two different lawsuits.
Right.
They're themselves being sued by 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. And they are also countersuing both of those organizations. We know that the France family has a lot of money. They probably are affording the best lawyers in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine this court case is going to go on for well over a year at this point? Can you imagine how much money they're spending on lawyers? So maybe that's what's going on here. Are they spending $300 million that would have gone to build the California racetrack?
$500 million
on the
wholesale price.
Yeah, on their group of lawyers.
Yeah, right.
Or honestly, I think I've said this before too, which is like, I have a feeling this isn't going to go to trial. They're going to settle this. That's how all these things do. All these big billionaires, they all settle this. And so you're going to find some sort of monetary settlement happening. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to be like, okay, Front Row, 2311, here's $300 million to shut up. Right.
And here's your charters.
I like
Yeah.
that.
No questions asked.
And then you still have this plot of land that they have no idea what to do with and no money anymore.
But then there's
develop it.
that issue with the charters. What is it, 6 years?
It's going to come up again.
I believe so. Yeah. It's the length of the TV contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. We got everything in?
Yeah, I think money stop. We gotta let Cole explain what's coming up on the money stop and tell us who the favorite is this week.
Yeah, so for the money stop, we have a really great show lined up for the Lady in Black, Darlington.
Have you ever said you have a really shitty show lined up?
No.
I know.
You kidding me? We're that damn good.
I know.
We don't pump out shit.
Just like you said with Joey Logano, results speak for themselves. So you are right.
Your mic, Richie. Richie, your mic.
So actually, it's kind of funny. So back-to-back weeks, the top 5 shortest odds for the race win are all the same. They're not the same order, but the same 5 drivers. But just to recount our success from last week, we got 7 of the top 10 finishers, including 4 of the top 5 finishers and the winner, Denny Hamlin. We got the Ryan Preece, Bubba Wallace top 10 prop predictions correct. That was a plus 110 payout, so just above even. And we also had some good jobs with the better, worse finishing position. Kyle Larson better than 5th, Ryan Preece better than 12.5, and Brad Keselowski lower than 12.5, as well as Bubba Wallace to finish ahead of Alex Bowman. So we had a really successful week once again. Looking forward to killing it at Darlington because making this outline earlier today, lots of money to be made.
Confidence.
Should I have my mild long shot again with Chase Briscoe?
What's that?
A mild long shot with Chase Briscoe again?
Oh, yeah. He has a great resume. He's got back-to-back top 5s at Darlington. Won the last race there. So, and Joe Gibbs equipment better than Stewie Haas. So, looking forward to seeing how he does. Very underrated, too, at Darlington, too, because I feel like Reddick and Larson get all the hype being as they're able to rip the fence. But him and Bell are 2 really, really good, underrated racers at Darlington.
What about anybody with Spire?
I mean, McDowell's been solid this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's been able to produce at tracks where he otherwise has not been able to in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if he finished or challenged for a top 10, but
Got it.
Not on our outline. And obviously, Kosovar, Carson Kosovar has been very, very good this year. So, never know.
Chase Elliott plus 1,200. My goodness.
Somebody in our YouTube comments, Jamie is asking, will Joey win Darlington? Joey Logano, have a chance?
Joey Logano has a great shot to win Darlington. I think he might even be my pick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tune in and find out.
Yeah, he had the win and the top 5 in the first race of the next gen. Finished 8th there last time out. Got momentum on his side, and he runs that track really well. So I do think Joey Logano has a good shot. I'd be looking at his top 5, top 10 props, especially going into this one.
I see him at plus 1,900.
Yeah,
that's about right.
I think that's actually, he should be a little bit more favored than that.
Right.
But that's good for bettors.
Yeah, right.
Bigger payout. So
Take
it.
It drops Friday mornings, 7 o'clock Eastern time, right here on our YouTube page, Official SpeedFreaks. Thank you guys for being a part of it, man. Taking the advice of Cole and his brother Steven Cusimano, dropping some mad advice. Again, it's a great resource if you guys are looking to learn. Yep. If you guys are looking to lay some coin this weekend on the 400 going out at Darlington.
Real quick before we go, can I do Richie's money stop real quick so we can talk about? Yep, we're gonna do Richie's money stop. Here we go.
Let's see it.
Here we go. Lando Norris is your favorite in Japan.
Formula what?
Formula. Yep, they're in Japan this weekend. It might rain. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. I know what I'm going to take with that.
It might rain. Here's the bet I like, Cole, for Formula One this weekend. All right, especially if it rains, I'm taking Max Verstappen to finish top 2.
Okay.
Plus 185.
Ooh,
to come in second to Lando Norris.
that's good.
Back to you, Ken.
Well, wait. I want to know, where's Lewis going to finish?
He's the rain man.
He's also great in the rain, but as we've learned so far, Ferrari just. We're on the internet all day, so can I cuss? Can I drop an F-bomb?
Ooh, I don't know about the F-bombs.
I don't need to. Let's don't get flagged, Richie. No
all right. Ferrari always F's up. So I don't trust Ferrari. Trust Lewis, do not trust Ferrari.
I'm gonna go Oscar Piastri with a win.
Oscar.
I like that. That's a great choice.
I'll go with him with a win.
I'm a much bigger Oscar Piastri fan than I ever will be Lando Norris. I've said that. I think Oscar's the better driver. He has the much cooler head. I think he has more championship material in him than Lando Norris does. 100%.
He's a nice guy too. Not that I've met the guy. Just doesn't come across to be an ass like 99% of the other drivers do.
He won the last race, so.
Freak Nation, I think that's it. What this 45-minute show turned into 61 minutes. It's awesome. We'll do it again Sunday night, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Think we're all being house? Nobody's touring?
No.
Right?
And you won't have your foot in my face.
Just don't eat Taco Bell, Cole.
Yeah, no promises. Baja Blast, though. That's
how we roll.
It's going down.
God, so much of those sponsors. Damn it. All right, man.
We don't need Taco Bell as a sponsor.
Later.
Oh, I got to have the damn thing going. Hang on a second, y'all. Hang on.
Timing.